Yes, indeed, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the First Class, Second Place podcast. I'm your host, Jason Enrique, and with me today, my very special guest is also Chopp. How you doing, also?
What's up? What's up? I'm all right. I'm good today.
Oh, man, thank you for coming all the way over here. I appreciate it.
No problem. No problem.
Yeah. All right, so let's just get right into it, man. Let me start off the question that I ask everybody that comes on my show. Tell me the beginning of your Jersey story. Like, meaning, where were you born and raised, and what was your upbringing like?
I was born in Elizabeth, New Jersey.
Mm-hmm.
I grew up in Lakewood. Right before Lakewood, I was like in Montclair a little bit, but most of the time, like throughout my elementary to high school, I was in Lakewood, New Jersey, and then like 2014, I think my junior year or sophomore year, I moved to Bloomfield, New Jersey. So I graduated from Bloomfield High.
Okay. Now, I wanted to ask you about Lakewood specifically because in my personal life and my day job, I actually travel to Lakewood every now and then, and it's a interesting place to say the least. I mean, I've only seen one specific side of it. It is considered the shore. I got a couple of people that actually live out there that do podcasting and content creating as well. It seems like a pretty decent environment, but like I want to know from your perspective, like what was your experience like being down there?
I mean, I went out there in 2009. I'm gonna say fifth grade, and it's very different than what it is now. I'm gonna say as far as community wise.
Okay. Because I figured that there's a lot of retirees down there and so on and so forth, and the dynamics are different than what you're used to doing in Bloomfield or in Elizabeth. But the point that I'm getting at is that for me personally, I grew up in Hawthorne, which is like right in between Patterson and Ridgewood. So in a way, I feel like I got the best of both worlds. Like I was able to see on one side and then I saw the other, and then I met that gray area, and that basically defines who I am. And I feel like that's kind of like what you've been through as well. Like, you were in Bloomfield, you were in Elizabeth, which was like, it has a certain demographic.
I was born in Elizabeth, but like I didn't grow up in Elizabeth.
But you were able to see, what it was like,
side, yeah, like Newark, Elizabeth. I mean, not Elizabeth. Newark, I grew up in, and Lakewood, and then Bloomfield. So, and then Montclair too. My bad, Montclair too.
Montclair, okay.
So I definitely got to see the both sides. As far as like community wise, school system wise, who had the best curriculum, who didn't, like stuff like that. I definitely seen, and now that I got a daughter, I definitely be like looking at stuff like that. So, as far as Lakewood was like, when I first got there, I'm not gonna lie, the Jewish community was small there, and now they have like basically taken over.
Oh yeah,
Lakewood. I didn't know if I was gonna speak on that, but I am. Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy. Like It went from, us having some type of community, some type of basketball team, some type of like, somewhere for the community kids to go to nothing. Like they just, I feel like they just took over everything, even the school system, board of education.
Right. Like it became very gentrified.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I feel like it's no problem with being your race or whatever you are. Like, it's no problem.
Absolutely, yeah.
But when you come to conquer and just take over, like you don't want others to be a part of, something that's benefiting you or could benefit them. I feel like that's when that's the problem. That's a problem.
Okay, all right. Well, enough said. Now, as far as like your music roots are concerned, like where did they really hone? Like, where did you really hone your craft? Like, how did you become as far as like really into music? Like, what inspired you, and what really made you think that I can really go all the way with this?
All right. So when I was like 2, my mom, my dad, they say it all the time. They'd be like when they watch my music videos now, they be like, yo, when he was 2, he was walking around with a mic saying, "Do you want to be in my video?" Like that was me, and I was bow-legged as heck, so it looked like I was about to fall every walk that I did, every step I took. So I really think it started from a child. Like I always loved music. I always had a feel for it, even as a child, which is why I like to dance, because dancing goes along with music. You got to know sound, you got to have rhythm to to maneuver. So, yeah, I feel like it just started as a child, but I lost I lost touch with what I really wanted to do and what I really liked when I got in the environment of other when I went to Lakewood. When I went to Lakewood, I feel like I lost touch of that because I had to be like tough and like the school system wasn't nothing like Montclair. I went from Montclair to Lakewood, so it wasn't nothing like what the environment I was in. It was a total different environment.
Right. Now, with the different music that you were listening to, I mean, it seems like it was a whole different array of different genres and so on and so forth. What was it about rap music specifically that gravitated you more than the other genres, like as opposed to just being an R&B singer or wanting to play an instrument and so on and so forth?
So my friends would rap all the time. Like we would have like, you know, smoke sessions and stuff, and they would rap. But I would be the only one quiet. Like,
just like shy, like, you know,
like,
don't say anything.
Don't look at me and don't ask me because I'm just here to smoke. You know, like, so one day my boy Stacks was like, yo, just say something. Like, boy, like you just sitting here like all the time. Like we rapping, we writing, and you just sit here like you boring. Like, why you even here? So one day he's like, just spit something, like try to write something. Like I'm gonna send. He like, look, let's rap. So he put on the beat and I started rapping, but I freestyled it, and then I couldn't remember what I said, and I got real mad. So then I was like, I gotta write now. Like I have to make sure like it's written down because I want to remember. I wanted like what I said was fire, and it was so fire. I wanted to like so, you know, I started with a group called Lotto Gang. That's what they was calling it then. So I went with it. It was 3 of us, and they basically like they forced me to come out my shell a little bit.
Yeah, and
I think that's what started it because I was so like closed in.
What caused you to be so closed in the beginning? Like, was this even before
coming
you even
from
considered?
Montclair? I mean, like, no, I can't even really say that. Just being who I am.
Well, listen, like at the end of the day, it's nothing to be ashamed of. I mean, I've told people,
ashamed of it, bro.
Well, not ashamed of it. Maybe that's the wrong word, but what I'm getting at is that, like, before I discovered doing this podcast thing, I was like I was the type of guy that didn't really do anything. I was like an introvert to the nth degree. My social life was pretty non-existent and so on and so forth, and then afterwards, I found this outlet, and it's actually been able to help me come out of my shell. And it seems like this is what it's done for you. And like, I feel like the personality that you are now, and also the for lack of a better term, the character that you portray when you're doing your music is much more contrast than what you were earlier before you discovered music. Definitely. So basically, this is the niche that actually unlocked a part of your brain, and now like it's unleashed.
Right. And I feel like that definitely was the case. Definitely was the case. And I'm happy that I did take the leap because it turned into a whole different scenario.
Yeah. Now my audience knows this by nauseum, but you don't know this too much. So I'll just tell you a little bit. I actually used to do music back in the day, like back in 2005 and so on and so forth. Really? And the point that I'm trying to get out here, though, is that I look at how I had to try to make it into the industry back then compared to how artists are trying to do it now. And it's stark, really, really stark. It's much different because I was right there on the cusp where, like, it was, you still had to like make a demo and then also like kind of get your name out there in the streets. And then afterwards, it was turning to that point where like you had to have your social media game on point. Everybody was exploding on MySpace and YouTube and so on and so forth. So it's completely different how it was back then. So what were some of the trials and tribulations that you had to go through in this digital age of your age range?
God, like learning the business digitally is like so annoying. Like no cap. Like I'm gonna say when I first started, my first producer, he would tell me like, yo, like the first time I ever made a song, any of this, he listened, like he helped me produce it or whatever, and he was like, when I got out the booth from making my first song ever, he was like, yo, like you're gonna be a problem, like you like, and I'm not playing, like he like, but in this industry you got to know like there's no way not to be finessed. So I took that and ran with it. So I was like, I'm not giving nobody my money, like, you know,
Right.
like, cause he told me, like, you know, people, you know, told him they'll get a verse and then he'll send them the money and then they won't respond, stuff like that. So I was like, I'm not putting out my money. I'm just gonna put out my art and see where it go.
Mm-hmm.
You feel me? Because I'm like, yo, like, I'm not trying to get finessed. So, so like my eyes was like open with it. So I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna just do all my research and tally all my marks of what I need to do to do singles or to put out music without having to just put it on SoundCloud. Because at that time, people was trying to learn how to take their music off SoundCloud, but put it on all platforms.
Mm-hmm.
Around the time I started rapping, which was 17, 18. So people was still on SoundCloud, but people was getting on to, all right, how do you put your music on Apple Music,
Spotify, Amazon, all that shit. Yeah.
So I was like in that urge of like, how am I going to get all this stuff on all platforms?
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't know how, because United Masters didn't have it yet. Like the independent apps and all that stuff didn't have it. So I didn't know. I wasn't put on the game yet. So I would just like hit up people and just get information all the time.
Right.
Over and over and over for like a year straight before I like started dropping music.
Okay.
And then I got like a lot of information about, you know, the music and how much needs to be invested, what needs to be invested, how much you need to get a cover art for the song, how much to copyright it, to just to get in the booth to make the song. And then,
in other words, it's not just the talent itself; it's everything that goes with it.
Definitely not. You need
And, you know, even in this day and age, I mean, something that I didn't have to worry about back then, but it seems like you have to really, really branch out into the social media thing. And like, I'm talking about like now more than ever. It's like, I know some artists right now that they're so focused into their music as much as they're focused onto making reels and making all of these like videos and so on and so forth to you know, basically stay relevant. And for better or worse, is a good thing because it actually shows a side of people that you know, a side of them that, you know, they normally wouldn't show, you know, to the rest of the world.
Yeah,
you know, it opens up a little bit more.
That's so true.
But at the same time, I also feel like it could be a pain in the ass because, you know, you're actually doing something that's supposed to be for fun, but then afterwards it feels like work. Mm-hmm. And then afterwards, I feel like when you're doing something that has to be added into the criteria of wanting to make it in the business, it stops being fun, and then afterwards, it actually discouraged the wrong type of people.
Yeah, I definitely agree. After it starts to become like, I think it's after people start seeing the money, you know,
Mm-hmm.
like when you start seeing like, oh, this is how much I can make and how much, you know, like, and people they start to forget like, all right, this is what I do because it makes me happy.
Right.
This is what I do to let out my frustration. This is what I do. This is my life. Like, this is something I love. And they let other people persuade them to think like, all right, this is just something to do. You're not an engine.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you're not a human with feelings no more.
Right.
You know, you're more of a moneymaker.
Yeah, and that's a really good point. That it even goes as far as seems to the game that I'm in, the podcast game. Like, perfect example is, you know, everybody knew about podcasting and they got into it, so on and so forth. Next thing you know, Joe Rogan wins $100 million deal with Spotify, and now everybody thinks, oh, I can get into this too. And then afterwards, it makes you feel like you're only getting into it for the monetary reasons. You don't do it for the you don't do it for the passion, whatever. Like me, I don't want to toot my horn or anything, but I think I separate from anybody else of that kind of way of thinking because I've wanted to do something in media, specifically with like a microphone and headphones, ever since 2005. Like, I remember I was that kid just driving around and listening to nonstop radio and thinking that maybe I could do that one day. So this is actually something that's been instilled in me from way before any of this was that I thought was feasible. And I'm not just doing this for, for clout. I'm not doing this for monetary reasons. I do this because I genuinely enjoy doing it. I feel like I can excel at it. And something that I didn't even think was even beneficial for me at the time. And it's actually done wonders for my own mental health.
Right. Like, I could agree with that, because when, like I said, around that time, 2017 and 18, when I first started rapping, a lot of people were like, you just doing it because everybody else doing it. Like, like now
I get that all the time. Yeah.
Now your name is also Chopp and you're rapping like Sage. Like, boy, bye. Like, people look at me like, boy, bye, until I dropped that first song. But it just was like, I one day I was in the mirror rapping, like writing, and like I would just sit in the bathroom for hours writing and staring at myself in the mirror and like coercing what I'm writing and switching the words out, stuff like that. And that came across my head, like, did I start rapping because everybody else doing it? But as I kept going, I'm like, I feel it in my soul. This for me. This is for me, because as a child, I loved music. I loved to dance. That was something for me. And I lost touch of it when I wanted to, look at other people's opinions and make other people happy. And that's where people mess up.
That's where you lose your focus. Yeah, absolutely.
Definitely. So that I definitely could feel that, because it was like, around that time, everybody was just like, you just doing, like, they didn't think I was going to stay consistent. They didn't think I was going to stay, like, with it. But I did, because I know this is for me.
And is that also to say that for all those doubters out there, that actually added fuel to the fire for you to do this?
Well,
basically, like, all those doubters or those people think that you're just doing this for the wrong reasons and not really believing in your talent. Did that really fuel you into becoming a better artist?
Definitely. Oh, definitely. Because I was like, I felt like, all right, y'all trying to play me. So now I'm like, I just got to keep going.
Yeah.
And after a while, like, you keep certain friends around, you start seeing, like, everybody, they not. When you start, like, saying, like, how you happy about a song and you trying to play your songs and nobody's giving you the vibe, like, or they feel like, all right, like, it's just not them, and you feel that too, but they don't say nothing, but you feel it,
Yeah, like, I know where you're coming from, because let me just say this point, because I've been doing this podcast for about a year and some change now. And a lot of people through social media have been seeing, like, yo, Jay, I see you doing your thing out there. You're doing all these episodes. You're meeting all these people and so on and so forth. Like, let me give you flowers while you can still smell them and everything. I'm like, oh, I appreciate that, man. Like, did you get a chance to see it, watch the last episode or listen to it? They're like, nah, I didn't really get a chance to watch it, but I just see you out there doing your thing. So it used to bother me, but like, I've kind of learned to roll with it now, because at least I'm getting my name out there. But it would be nice if they actually focused on the real art form that I'm trying to do. Like, yeah, you could just see it, like, it's almost like you're watching a TV commercial or trailer for a movie, but you don't actually see the actual movie.
Right. That happens a lot with us artists too.
Yeah, no, I feel like it happens in all walks of life, especially in creative world.
They just see us on the Instagram post,
Yeah.
And they comment fire emojis and keep it scrolling. So.
Yeah, but you know what? At the same time, unfortunately, there's a numbers game in this industry. All the people, they just care about the numbers. Yeah.
Numbers is equal money, so
right, exactly. So, in me being the old school hip hop head that I am, one of the things that kind of frustrated me as being a little bit of an old head, and I can't believe I'm using that label on myself right now at this moment, but I noticed that one of the things that kind of frustrates me is being an old head, especially in today's music. It seems like everything is so repetitive. It sounds the same, and so on and so forth. Sometimes you'll find little gems out there, but they come very few far in between. So with that being said, and I'm not saying that you're just like everybody other artists out there, but what would you think? But what do you think personally you could tell everybody that separates you from everybody else that's just doing what you're doing?
What separates me is that I want to give my audience my truth. That's what separates me. I feel like everybody just trying to live this perfect little life to the world, and that's what's misguiding all these young kids to try to be something. It's not like it took me a minute to get to this point to where I could even speak about something like this.
Good, good. You're letting your
know,
actions speak more than your words.
Facts. And yeah.
Okay. No. That's good enough answer. So I appreciate it. Now, so I want to talk. I got to bring this up. I can't believe I didn't bring this up in the beginning. And I've done my research. I know the meaning behind it, but explain to my audience the meaning behind the name Also Chopp.
Okay, so Also Chopp just mean like, I feel like it means like I'm chopping up the beat.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to chop up any beat that come my way. You send it over here, I'm chopping it up,
right,
and I'm sending it back.
Yeah,
like that's what I used to think when I say like, because first it wasn't Also Chopp to keep
right.
it a
It was
buck. In the
something else,
beginning,
yeah.
it was Chopp 1800. I changed the name because of outside problems I don't need with gang of rivals. So yeah, I changed my name.
Yeah, wrong affiliations, yeah.
Right. So I just like, you know what? Before I dropped music on all platforms, which I had, and within that time, it was all switching over where we were finding out.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, shoot, before I drop my first song or my first songs, I'm going to make sure my name is changed, so then it's not like I got multiple songs on all these platforms and two different names.
Right.
So it was like it all happened at the same time, and I came up with Also because Also is just like.
Yeah, I was just wondering that because me going back to calling myself an old head, I'm like, is this like a new slang that I'm not hip on yet? Like, is this what the kids are saying nowadays? Also. And then you just roll with it on your name?
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, I ain't gonna lie. To keep it a whole buck.
Always keep it a whole buck on the show.
Yeah,
please do.
It a whole buck, $250, $300. There's another rapper, and her name is like Also Honey Also, something like that. And she was doing her thing back then, but I don't think I don't know if she like still up there or whatever now. But her shit was Honey Also type shit. And then I fucked with it. So I was like, I put Also in front of Chopp. I'm like, Also Chopp.
Okay.
So to keep it all the way buck, yeah, that's what happened.
Yeah, I mean, it's no real like rocket science to how you came up with him or whatever. But
I just liked it because it's just like, it was different. Like, I felt like nobody out here had, her name was Honey Also or some, yeah, like,
okay.
Honey. So I put the Also in front of Chopp because I was coming up with names. And I had other names that I felt like was good, but it was too long. And I'm like, this is too long. Like, I need something that's like,
this is gonna roll off the tongue.
Yeah, and then if they put, I don't need them putting in like 25 characters just to search me up on Instagram. Like, like I need them just like some quick, something, something short but lit, like, but still gonna catch their attention. Yeah. So I was like, Also Chopp. And
does it ever get frustrating?
Chopp came from just chopping the beat up though.
Okay. So, does it ever frustrate you or even make you laugh when people could possibly mispronounce it?
Yes. But no. Okay. Like sometimes if people people don't really mispronounce it, except
okay.
People don't really mispronounce it.
Well, that's a good thing though. Yeah. And what I like about your name also is that, like, the thing about hip hop music or the hip hop culture in general is like it's always finding a way to be original. And I feel like that's an original name right there.
Yeah. I feel like it is too. Cause like Chopp, like the first name I had, Chopp 1800, I was like, it's lit, but like to keep it a buck, I didn't feel like it fit me all the way because like I just didn't feel like it fit me. So when Also Chopp came and I was ready to drop my first song, I was like, people was just like, where'd you get Also Chopp from? Where'd you get Also Chopp from? And keep it a buck, I ain't never tell nobody, like, you don't even know. I mean, like, what? So, like, but that name, after a while, like, it really just started to buzz, like, and people just like, Also Chopp, like, who is he? Like, like, so, I don't know, but I feel like it definitely fits me, and if Oso wasn't on it, then Chopp definitely would.
Okay. All right, that's fair enough.
You know?
Yeah. Now, one question that I noticed that a lot of these podcasters or radio shows are always asking artists, like, "Yo, with this new project you got out, or you got this single coming out, what would you say is like your favorite one that is above the rest?" But I'm gonna switch it up a little bit. If there's a song out there, anyone, it could be old, new, unreleased, whatever. If there's one song out there that you made that basically encapsulates who you are as a person, as an artist, or whatever the case may be, what song would you say encapsulates who Oso Chopp really is?
That's already out. That's already out because I.
Well, yeah, I mean, I would like my audience to,
Listen, man.
yeah, check it out.
All right, I'm gonna have to go with. Can I pick two?
Yeah, why not?
Smartest on the Road and Rap Attention.
And I'm so glad that you brought up Smartest on the Road, because that's actually my favorite Oso Chopp song. I just love the energy of it. I feel like I can. I feel like I could go into a club and actually get really hyped with that. At the same time, also beat the shit out of somebody if need to be. That's the energy that I get from it. And that's the school that I came from. And I think that's what I appreciated about that song as opposed to everything else that's out there right now. Yeah. So, but what's funny is that, like, how did the title come about, the Smartest on the Road? Because anybody would say probably like Smartest in the Room or whatever, or Smartest in the Building. Why on the road specifically?
It just went good with the hook.
Okay.
So the song wasn't called Smartest on the Road from the beginning. Like, the producer sent me the song, I wrote a hook to it, and then once the song was done, the guys the engineer who's engineering your music, he asks you, okay, what's the song called?
Yeah.
So I'm like, I'm listening to the song, I'm like, Smartest on the Road, because that's like, it stands out the most in the song. So that's how I came up with Smartest on the Road. But I definitely felt like, because my path been so like crazy, I feel like
swerving all over the
like,
okay.
I felt like, dang, I'm the smartest on the road. Like, I pushed through because that was my first single that I had dropped in a minute. And like a real minute. Like, I didn't drop nothing since 2020. Since before that first single. Okay. So, and that was my first EP when I dropped in 2020 called Lethal Start. So like, I'm like, dang, I'm back. Like, that's how I'm like it was just like, I'm the smartest on the road.
Nice. I like the whole process.
And
absolutely.
That's how, and I like, and when I was writing it, that's how I was like, like, when I was writing it, I was freaking angry. And I was
I could feel it. I felt that anger in that. Like, I was like, who the fuck pissed you off that it got you set off on this track?
People piss me off, make the best music.
Yeah, but you know what? That's what makes the best art sometimes, when it's made out of pure raw emotion.
Yeah. And that's what, you could rap about whatever you want to rap, but like, I'm not out here rapping about nobody killing nobody else, none of that. I just bring aggression to my lyrics.
Yeah.
That's all. Like, and that's fine. You feel me? As long as I'm not out here rapping about harming other people, and you feel me? And I feel like that's just my conscience because of the way my father raised me and what he installed in me.
Right. And that's actually a perfect segue, because I actually wanted to talk about your father a little bit. Now, on the show, one of the things that I always love talking about, and I stress that, I can't stress it enough, is the subject of mental health. Because I mentioned before that one of the things that has benefited me as a person ever since starting this podcast is it's been beneficial for my mental health, my social anxiety, my depression, and so on and so forth. Mm-hmm. And I know in my research that your father, he probably even still to this day is a really big advocate of mental health, and he tried to teach you at an early age on how to contain yourself and be the best person possible, and like also just protect your peace and so on and so forth. How much of an inspiration is he really to you, more than just in that aspect?
Well, yeah, he taught me that, but in other aspects, he was my dad. He was my father. He was there. He definitely like consoled me a lot. I think at the time I was so young and I was so stuck, and not like
in the right headspace.
Not in the right headspace, but like I was still stuck on like not trying to be my like who I am. I was still stuck on
like you were afraid of who you were in your own skin.
You know, basically. So, you know, my father he was always trying to pull it out of me, even at a young. My father, like, he knew at a young age, and he always would try to pull it out of me, and like I would like always like pull away, always pull away. Like I didn't like really not pull away until like last year, you know, and like the fact that he was there for me emotionally, and like that was a big help too,
right?
Being there emotionally,
and I feel like the way that he raised you and the way he went about you was actually another inspiration as to you being a father yourself now.
Yeah, because you know, I actually sent a picture to his old friend, and of me and my daughter, and she was like, the way you're looking at your daughter is the same way your dad looked at you when he hugged you. And like, I was like, wow, like it just, you know, it just hit me.
Yeah, I mean,
everything
just
you
the
just
way
said
that it
right
just
now,
comes right back around. Yeah.
And I was like, wow, like without even like knowing it, like, you know, my dad, everything my dad did to me, like, it's installed.
That's great, you know. I mean, and you could take that going forward, knowing that you can be the best dad possible to your daughter.
Yes, sir.
And you know, with that being said, you also have another form of motivation to get to where you need to go. You're doing it not just for yourself and not just for your well-being and your mental health. You now have a human being that you brought into this world, and that's going to add the biggest fuel to the fire.
Yeah, and I think that's my daughter and my dad. That's my only fuel at this point. That's all I got to know.
Okay, no, that's fine. And you know, going back a little bit to when we were talking about how, you know, you were kind of like afraid of being in your own skin, and like he trying to pull you out of it, and so on and so forth. Did some of that also have to do with your own sexual orientation?
Yeah, definitely. It had a lot to do with it because like I said, I wasn't ready to be myself.
Right.
It wasn't like maybe I wasn't. It's not that I wasn't ready. I was afraid, and I didn't. All right. So when I moving to Lakewood from Montclair is more like, I'm gonna be honest. It's put together. It's put together. Like the school system, the curriculum, everything. It's like, you know, you're in second grade, but you feel like you're in high school already because you're changing classes. You have a locker with a pad on it. Like, it's like, it was really, how can I explain it? It was really a great system. It was a great school. You know, it was a great school system Montclair had. And then to get put in Lakewood where there was no funding, and, you know, there's a lot of more poverty than what I was in, that switched it all up, because now it's like, you know, you're around more kids that's going through more things at home, so they come to school with that, and they take that out on you. So I feel like a lot of the time I got that end of the stick, and that made me like just shell up.
It closed you up, yeah.
Yeah, and then when people poked at me,
yeah. And it kind of feels like you still kind of hold that. Not, I don't want to say that it consumes you, but there's like a little bit of a chip on your shoulder that you like to keep at sort of like a little bit of at bay, in order to like keep that fire in you to keep on going what you need to do.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely. That's
yeah, because I could even hear it in your music as it is, you know.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah, nah, that's definitely it. Cause I mean, that gives me that like why y'all messing with me? Like that's how I used to feel in second grade, when people would just like come out of nowhere and be like, you're this, you're that, or, you know, just, you know how, you know, cause kids, like, it happens.
Kids are assholes, man. Let's just keep it real.
Exactly. Like, and it's not to say that it's on purpose because we're kids. Like, we don't know no better.
We don't know shit, yeah.
We just, it just happens. So, I'm not blaming anybody. I'm just saying, like, that.
No, you're just calling it like it is.
Yeah,
that's all.
It affected me a lot. Affected me a lot. I didn't want to, it got to the point where, like, I didn't want to be, like, near, like, I would work 4 days a week at Amazon when I grew up, like, when I got out of high school.
Mm-hmm.
And then the other 3 days I was off, I didn't want to talk to nobody. I wouldn't answer my phone. It got to a really bad part. And, like, so I definitely speak about it because, like, I'm pretty sure it's a lot of other people going through worse.
There's a lot of people out there that are living in silence.
Yeah.
That,
and
are going through it.
It's deadly. Mm-hmm. That shit is deadly. It's going to eat you alive.
And that's one of the things that I love talking about this kind of thing on my platform as well, because not only am I trying to bring my guests in the best light possible, and I want that my audience to know who they are and so on and so forth, but I feel like it's also prevalent and important to talk about these kind of things, because not only does it keep the conversation going and let people know that they're not alone, but at the same time, as a bonus, it's opening the curtain up a little bit to who also Chopp is and who anybody else that comes on my show as well, because I'm not trying to do the whole cookie cutter thing about, like, yeah, this dude got this project coming out, y'all should check it out, so on and so forth. My audience wants to know who you are on a personal level. That's the whole reason for this going. And also, it's also for me, like, I like to get to know people. I like to, have these conversations and so on and so forth. And that's one of the things that I feel like is beneficial for me, for my mental health. And we always have to find avenues in order to get to that. It could be with, like, podcasting, it could be like walking or doing physical activity, or something that I know that you enjoy, which is meditation.
I ain't gonna lie. Lately, I have not been meditating, but I gotta get back on.
Well, maybe you haven't been consistent with it, but
consistent. Yes.
Yeah, but that's
my biggest key right now. I'm trying to stay consistent.
Right.
Well, like maybe how I stay consistent on rap. I'm trying to stay consistent on
rap. but you know what though? At least you found an outlet for something that can help you out, because unfortunately, there's a lot of people out there in silence that don't know what
was never taught.
Exactly.
Never told,
they don't know how to get out of it. And this actually goes back to, I don't want to spend too much time on this particular subject, but one thing that I will put out there is that I think what also kind of makes it difficult for people like you and me, minorities, like you're Black, I'm Hispanic, we always have that stigma where our old school parents especially, they looked at it as a sign of weakness, and then afterwards we thought that if we do something like that, then we're going to be perceived a certain way by the people that we're closest to.
I don't know, like, as far as meditation.
It could be anything. Like in your case, you found meditation. For me, I found walking miles and miles is my therapy. Especially, it's just all about finding that outlet. And and this goes back to what we were just talking about. Like, I found my outlet, you found your outlet, but unfortunately, there's a lot of people out there that don't know what it is, and that unfortunately they're still living in silence. Yeah. So that's just to spread the word out there.
It's definitely open up different things. Don't consume your mind in the negative thoughts, because that's really what it be. It just be all the negative and what could happen and what could happen and that's what because I found myself doing that a lot, before I came out and stuff, like, just always thinking like, what, this could happen, and it's just like, you gotta free yourself from that, because that I'm telling you, it'll drive you crazy. Free yourself. Be yourself.
Yeah. Now, from an artist standpoint, strictly, for anybody out there that's trying to get into the game that you're in and so on and so forth, and based on everything that you've gained in knowledge and so on and so forth, and for people that may or may get discouraged by what comes at them with the trials and tribulations, what advice do you have to anybody out there that's watching or listening and they want to make it in this industry, and what have you learned as far as, like, words of wisdom for them?
You gotta have tough skin.
Basically, how to have tough skin. Got to be able to accept criticism.
Gotta have tough skin. You want this? You want to be an artist? You gotta have tough skin. Gotta have tough skin. That's all I can say. Okay. Because, like, I mean, it's from the outside, it looks so good. So, like, to sit here and to like try to explain it to an artist and all that, like they're not gonna see it. They're not gonna really care, like, because they're gonna see just all the glitter, glitter, glitter. Like every time they go on Instagram, they're seeing another artist blowing up. So like they not gonna really take that and really run with it, because it's really what's being shown to them every day. They going want that lifestyle, period. And they just gotta see on their own. Sometimes people just gotta see on their own. You know, I already know that, and I'm happy I know that now, because like my dad used to always tell me, like, I don't want you going into this industry. I don't want you doing it. Like before as a child, 4 years old, like 4 to like 8, I used to model, and so you know, I was like modeling in Newark. My dad had me, you know, doing stuff like that. He was always there, and my mom too. So as I got older, I wanted to keep doing it, and that's all I wanted to model and do dance and stuff like that. And my dad was like, I don't want you in that industry, and I don't want you there. And I'm like, why? I just always would say why. He's like, because like you're too nice, like, and he didn't mean like I'm too nice, like as in like, oh, people are gonna take advantage of me. Like he meant like I'm too nice as like emotionally, I feel shit emotionally.
In other words, you didn't have that thick skin back then.
Yeah, you feel me? And he just like, I don't want that for you. Like I want positivity for you. Like I don't want you to go through all the negative stuff just to get a little bit of positive. You feel me? And that's really what it be. You go through a whole bunch of negative things behind the scenes, but in the spotlight is glitter and lights. Right. So, and he knew that, and I, you know, I see that. I see why it could be like that, even as an artist coming up.
Absolutely, I've seen it before in my time, and you know, you even see it to this day. But you're absolutely right. You gotta have thick skin. You gotta be able to take constructive criticism. You gotta realize that it's not going to be all glitz and glamour. If you stay true to yourself and stay true to the artistry and the talent, that's all that really matters.
Yeah, yeah, that too. Stay true to yourself, and then like when people start calling you out, you can just be like,
okay,
yeah.
Now, tell me about this new project that you got coming out in January.
It's called the single called Recipe. It's featuring my boy Stacks and Straps. One's from Lakewood, where I'm from, and the other guy's from South Plainfield.
Okay,
the other rapper. It's a movie. It's a movie, baby. For real, it's a movie. Like I'm really excited about this. I worked hard writing it at first, and then the video. I really I feel like I put my all into the video.
That's all that matters. If you feel like you really put it all out there,
like
laid
if
on the
I
line.
could go back and redo it the same exact way, I could do it right now.
So you wouldn't change it. You wouldn't change a thing. All right.
If I could go back and redo it right now, go to New York and redo it the same way that night.
Well, it sounds like you also want to do it just for the hell of it because it was that much fun for you.
Yeah, it's fun for me. Like I really love it. Like I love it. Like that's me.
You see that passion that's pouring out of you right now? That's what it's all about right there, man. Yeah. That's all what it's all about. Yeah. So, all right. So we're about to close out this episode in a little bit. But before we go, I just have one more question. And it's actually a nice segue since you want to talk about it's a movie. Okay. And I'm a big movie guy. And I've asked this question to everybody that's been on my show before. So I want to know your answer on this one. So you also, Chopp.
Yeah.
If they were to make a movie on your life, which actor would you like to see portray your character and why? And you know, just to help you out, they don't have to look like you.
I don't know a lot of actors' names.
But hold on a second. If they don't have to look like you, they don't have to sound like you. It's just somebody that you admire and you believe that they could portray your character to the best of their ability.
It would definitely be what's his name? Jamie Quincy.
Jamie Quincy. Where's he from?
Or some. I think his name is Jamie Quincy. Jamie Quincy. From the song, the movie Love and Basketball. The guy.
Yeah, with Omar Epps and Sanaa Lathan.
Oh, that's Omar Epps.
Omar
No.
Epps. Okay.
No, that was his name in the movie.
Okay.
Yo, Quincy, that was his name in the movie.
Okay, so you're
But
talking about
definitely
Omar
would
Epps.
be him. I would want him to
Okay.
to play me or Jamie Foxx.
Okay, all right. So
Or
there you-
Usher.
Who?
Usher. Or B.O.B. But B.O.B.'s a rapper. Yeah.
But you know what? That's fine.
I'm just like naming all the people that like I
think you're giving
could,
me a
like,
top 5 right
look
now.
like for Halloween or something.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned. It's funny you mentioned B.O.B. I didn't want to say it, but you kind of resembled him. So everybody says that.
says that. Everybody everybody been saying that to me since the 7th grade. I remember I went to Six Flags and somebody, the first person that told me, they were like, "Did anybody ever tell you look like B.O.B.?" I'm like, like the one that raps in the hair.
Yeah. Well, at the end of the day, there's no right or wrong answer, but like,
I don't mind it. I feel like he's a very smart rapper. Not like very very old. Like
he's very philosophical.
Yeah, and he just be chilling. Like I don't see. I feel like he's like that's good.
And he's also a true artist because not only does he a songwriter and a rapper, but he plays instruments and so on and so forth. He's multi-talented.
Yeah.
So
and that's a compliment to me.
There you go. All right. All right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that's gonna do it for this episode of First Class Second Place. I want to thank my guest, also Chopp, for coming through, man. Thank you very much for coming through. Is there anybody else you want to give a shout out to before we close out?
Definitely want to give a shout out to my mama, my daddy, God, my daughter, my cousins. All y'all, I love all my cousins. Ty, Karan, Miyagi Management, and God.
All right. And tell my audience one more time where they can find you on social media.
You can definitely find me on Instagram, YouTube, SoundCloud, wherever. Also Chopp, OSO space CHOPP.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much. And ladies and gentlemen, you can find me at Enrique _ on Instagram and Twitter and TikTok. Don't forget to like and subscribe on YouTube. And don't forget to follow the First Class Second Place podcast page on Instagram as well. This has been the First Class Second Place podcast. We out.
Second place.